Imagine a world shrouded in spiritual darkness, a nation led astray, their hearts turned to idols of wood and stone. In the midst of this despair, one man stood firm, a solitary voice crying out in the wilderness. This is the story of Elijah, a prophet of the Most High God, and his epic showdown on Mount Carmel. The kingdom of Israel was in crisis. Under the rule of King Ahab and his notorious wife Jezebel, the worship of the true God had been replaced by the cult of Baal, a Canaanite deity of fertility and rain. The land withered under a severe drought, a divine judgment foretold by Elijah himself. For 3.5 years, not a drop of rain fell. The streams dried up, the fields turned to dust, and famine gripped the nation. It was in this desperate setting that Elijah reappeared, his presence a thunderclap in the oppressive silence. He went straight to King Ahab and laid down a challenge, a divine dare that would echo through eternity. "Gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel," Elijah declared, "and with them the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." The stage was set. Atop the rugged slopes of Mount Carmel, a vast crowd assembled. On one side stood the lone prophet, Elijah, his face weathered by the wilderness, his eyes burning with holy fire. On the other, a formidable army of 850 prophets, adorned in the fine linens of royal favor, confident in their numbers and their pagan god. Elijah turned to the wavering people, his voice ringing with authority. "How long will you hesitate between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." The crowd was silent, their uncertainty hanging heavy in the air. So Elijah proposed a test, a definitive trial by fire. "Let 2 bulls be prepared for us. Let the prophets of Baal choose one for themselves, and let them cut it into pieces and put it on the wood, but put no fire to it." The prophets of Baal went first. They prepared their bull, laid it on the altar, and began their frenzied ritual. From morning until noon, they cried out, "O Baal, answer us." They leaped and danced around their altar, a chaotic display of desperate faith. But there was no voice, no one answered. As the sun reached its zenith, Elijah began to mock them. "Shout louder," he taunted. "Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." Goaded by his words, they shouted louder still, working themselves into a frenzy, even gashing themselves with swords and spears until their blood flowed. A grotesque and frantic appeal. But as the afternoon wore on, the silence from the heavens was deafening. No fire came. Their God was powerless. Then, as evening approached, it was Elijah's turn. His movements were deliberate, filled with solemn purpose. He took 12 stones, one for each of the tribes of Israel, and with them he rebuilt the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. He dug a trench around it, large enough to hold a great quantity of seed. He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. And then he did something that seemed utterly insane. In the midst of a crippling drought, he commanded, "Fill 4 large jars with water, and pour it on the offering and on the wood." They did so. "Do it again," he said, and they did it a second time. "Do it a third time," he commanded, and they did it a third time. The water ran down around the altar, soaking the sacrifice, the wood, the very stones, and completely filling the trench. There was no humanly possible way for this to ignite. The crowd watched, breathless. The prophets of Baal looked on, likely smirking at this foolish display. All was still. Then Elijah stepped forward. He didn't shout or dance or mutilate himself. He simply raised his eyes toward heaven and prayed, his voice clear and steady, a prayer of stunning simplicity and profound faith. "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again." The prayer had barely left his lips when it happened. In an instant, the sky tore open. A brilliant, terrifying column of fire, a torrent of golden light, descended from heaven. It struck the altar with unimaginable force. The fire didn't just burn the sacrifice, it utterly consumed it. It devoured the water-soaked wood. It vaporized the 12 massive stones, turning them to dust. It licked up every last drop of water in the trench, leaving the ground scorched and dry. A wave of terror and awe washed over the crowd. The sheer raw power was overwhelming. The brilliant light illuminated their faces, contorted in shock and fear. As one, the entire assembly fell prostrate on the ground, their faces in the dust, a single, thunderous cry erupting from thousands of throats. "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" In that singular, spectacular moment, the argument was over. The debate was settled. The power of the one true God was displayed in a way that could never be denied or forgotten. The triumph was absolute, the divine authority undeniable. Mount Carmel became a timeless symbol of faith, courage, and the incontestable power of the God who answers by fire. This story reminds us that even when we feel alone, outnumbered, and in the face of impossible odds, faith in the true and living God can command the very elements. It's a call to abandon hesitation and to stand firmly for what is true. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to Mount Carmel. If this story has inspired you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more epic stories of faith, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder of God's incredible power. Until next time, may your faith be as bold as Elijah's,